Okay, so let's dive in. Um, Imagine this scene, right? Like San Francisco, but not like now, like way back when. And there's this guy, Norman Hall, and he's like calling on a law office. But he's not there for like a legal thing. He's there to sell them a male ostrich feather duster.
A male ostrich
Oh,
feather
yes.
duster.
For like $22. I
Hmm.
know, right?
Yeah,
It's so strange when you compare it to like how business works today.
it really is. I mean, Norman Hall, they called him the last Fuller Brush man. He represents this like old school way of selling that seems like a myth today.
Totally. Yeah.
But what's fascinating for like anyone listening is that even though that image of the door-to-door salesperson has vanished, the bigger picture of sales in our economy has like taken a surprising turn.
So true. Here's the thing that really got me thinking. With online shopping and everything, you'd think salespeople would be going extinct, right? Like, who needs them? But the data says something else entirely.
Right.
The number of people in sales jobs actually increased. Yeah. And like the percentage of the US workforce in sales has stayed pretty much the same, around 1 in 10 people. And get this, we even saw a dip between 2006 and 2010 with over 1 million sales jobs disappearing. But then projections showed nearly 2 million new sales jobs popping up by 2020.
It's crazy, right?
So what's going on?
Exactly. Like, what's the real deal?
Yeah, it seems like the huge economic changes haven't killed off sales like people thought they would.
Right.
And, this brings up a really important question. Have you ever considered yourself to be in sales?
I know, right? He's like, most of us don't have sales in our job title, but this deep dive, we're drawing on Daniel H. Pink's book To Sell is Human.
Yeah.
And it kind of reveals this hidden truth. We're all involved in moving others in different parts of our lives, even if we don't realize it. That's Pink's main point. It's this subtle shift from traditional selling to what he calls non-sales selling. Like it's happening everywhere, and most people don't even see it. And that's what we want to explore in this deep dive. We're going to unpack why this is happening, pull out the key insights, and help you understand the whole thing. And we're going to do it in a way that makes sense, without getting too bogged down.
So Pink uses this thing he calls the Pixar pitch to sum up this idea of everyone being in sales. It's basically like a really short story, like a Pixar movie. Here's how it goes. Once upon a time, only certain people were in sales. Every day, those folks sold stuff, the rest of us did other things, and that was just how it was. One day, the world started changing. More and more people started working for themselves, and because they were entrepreneurs, all of a sudden they were salespeople too. At the same time, big companies started realizing that super specialized jobs weren't working as well as they used to. So they began looking for people with broader skills, especially the ability to influence others. Meanwhile, the economy itself was transforming, and in just 10 years, millions more people ended up in education and healthcare, which are both about moving people. Until finally, in ways we've barely even noticed, most of us ended up doing some form of sales. Pretty neat, right?
Yeah, it is. And Pink points to three main reasons behind this. The first one is the massive growth of entrepreneurship in small businesses. Big companies are still important, but we've also seen this boom in tiny businesses, like individuals offering services and stuff, not just physical products.
Yeah.
People with special skills and knowledge sharing that with others.
It's like the whole gig economy thing.
Exactly.
Think about it. The U.S. Census Bureau estimated over 21 million non-employer businesses. That's a ton of electricians, computer consultants, graphic designers, all running their own little operations.
And what's really interesting is how the internet and especially smartphones have sped this up. Like,
Right. I mean, even Mark Andreessen famously said, the smartphone revolution is underhyped.
That's for sure. It's so true. I mean, while smartphones can disrupt traditional retail by allowing customers to bypass salespeople, the overall impact is bigger than that.
Right.
This technology has empowered even more people to become sellers.
Yeah, it's like everyone has the potential to be a salesperson now.
Think about the app economy. It's created nearly 500,000 jobs in the U.S. since 2007, and it's mostly driven by small entrepreneurial ventures.
Right.
And user-friendly technologies like Square, Pay Here, and Go Payment make it super easy for almost anyone with a smartphone to become a shopkeeper, taking credit card payments, doing the whole thing. I mean, it's amazing, really, when you think about it.
It's almost like anyone can start their own little business now. When you do that, you got to be able to sell yourself and what you're offering, right?
That's the core of it. The second reason Pink gives for why we're all in sales now is what he calls the elasticity of skills. It's this growing demand for a more diverse skill set within companies. The old school job descriptions are kind of fading away in today's world.
It's true. It's like you can't just be good at one thing anymore.
Right.
He talks about Atlassian, a software company known for not having a traditional sales team.
Yeah.
Their CEO even said, "We have no salespeople because, in a weird way, everyone is a salesperson." How does that even work?
It's interesting. Potential customers usually download a trial version of the software.
Okay.
And if they have questions, they get in touch with Atlassian's support team. But the support people don't do any hard selling or offer crazy discounts. They just focus on helping users understand the software and really get value from it.
So they're not really selling, but they're kind of selling?
Exactly.
It's like demonstrating value indirectly leading to sales.
Precisely.
Interesting.
And this idea goes beyond just customer support. Atlassian even has their engineers talk to customers so they can see firsthand what users struggle with and what needs improving in the product.
That's cool.
It's not traditional selling, but it definitely helps the sales process. And it means that even technical people need skills beyond just coding. Atlassian even makes new employees read a book about the communication failures during 9/11 and a guide to improvisational acting. They want them to be adaptable and think on their feet.
Wow, improv acting for a software job. That's wild. I guess it shows how many jobs now require you to be able to connect with people, get them, and influence them.
Right? And it might not even be in your job title.
That's so true.
Think about Valerie Conan. She's a terrestrial ecologist. Part of her job is pitching her firm's services and convincing clients.
Okay.
Or Sharon Twiss, a content strategist. She says almost everything she does involves some kind of persuasion. From deciding on software updates to influencing team choices, it's everywhere. Even job titles are changing to reflect this, like Timothy Shriver Jr. at the Future Project. His role involves connecting students with mentors from different fields.
It's like having one specific skill isn't enough anymore. You have to be good at communicating, building relationships, and persuading others. It doesn't matter what your job title is.
Exactly. And the third big factor in this trend is the growth of the EdMed sector, education and healthcare. We think of these as helping professions, but Pink says they have more in common with selling than we realize.
Interesting. In what way?
Well, think about what both good selling and helping professions do. They try to move people towards something better.
Okay. Yeah.
Like Dave and Shelley Ferlazzo, they're teachers at a tough high school. Cool. Dave said, as teachers, we want to move people. And Shelley, who's also a nurse practitioner, said, moving people is the majority of what we do in healthcare. Selling, when done right, involves convincing someone to spend time, money, or effort to ultimately improve their situation. And a good teacher convinces students to put in the effort to learn algebra, which can open doors for them later on.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Healthcare professionals try to persuade patients to make healthier choices or get treatments that will benefit them in the long run. It's all connected.
Right. It's about guiding people towards something good for them, whether it's learning or better health.
That's it. We might be seeing the emergence of what Pink calls a white coat, white chalk economy, where education and healthcare are dominant, and the ability to influence others is how a lot of people make a living. And companies outside those fields are noticing this too and changing their ways. Take CarMax, for example. They totally flipped the used car sales game on its head by focusing on trust and transparency. No more haggling, no pushy salespeople, and they give you a full vehicle history report. They tackled the information imbalance between the buyer and seller head on.
I like that. It's a great example of a company finding success by being customer-focused and building trust. Right. Now, there's this whole negative image of sales, right? Pink calls it the myth of the blockhead. This idea that sales is for people who aren't smart enough for other jobs.
Oh, yeah, totally. Even Alfred Fuller, the guy who started Fuller Brush, joked about how his sales force wasn't full of geniuses.
Right.
But Pink argues that this stereotype isn't true anymore, if it ever really was.
Right.
Especially today when so many routine jobs can be done by machines and information is everywhere, being good at moving people takes a mix of skills, smarts, and creativity. It's about understanding complex problems and finding unique solutions.
It's definitely not just about being charming and shaking hands anymore.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So what are some of the key skills for this new world of moving others? Pink talks a lot about attunement.
Attunement is key. Basically, it's about perspective taking, seeing things from the other person's point of view. Pink uses a finger snapping exercise and asks people to draw a capital E on their forehead to show something interesting.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
There's often an inverse relationship between feeling powerful and considering someone else's perspective.
So people who are more focused on themselves will draw the E so it looks right to them.
Yeah,
And those thinking about the other person will draw it backward so it looks right to the person facing them.
exactly. In the past, salespeople had more information than buyers. So being able to see the buyer's side wasn't as crucial.
Right, because they had all the power.
Yeah, exactly. But now information is readily available to everyone, so the ability to truly understand another person's thoughts, motivations, and needs is essential for moving them. Researchers even say it's more beneficial to get inside their heads than to try and get them to feel what you feel.
So it's more about understanding their thoughts and less about feeling empathy for them.
Exactly. Attunement also includes social cartography, like being able to read the dynamics of a group and understand how everyone is connected. You need to be able to assess a situation and figure out how people relate to each other. And here's something interesting now. Adam Grant's research has found that ambiverts, people who are in between introverted and extroverted, often do really well in sales roles. They have a good balance of assertiveness and listening skills.
Really? I would have thought that extroverts would be the best salespeople.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But ambiverts can be strong when they need to be, but they also know when to shut up and listen to understand the other person.
Makes sense.
Pink gives some practical tips for getting better at attunement. One is strategic mimicry, basically subtly mirroring the other person's body language and tone using a watch, wait, and wane approach.
Yeah.
You don't want to be too obvious, but subtle mirroring can help you connect.
Like matching their posture or how fast they talk.
Yeah, exactly. Another good technique is the empty chair exercise. Amazon uses this. In meetings, they keep an empty chair to represent the customer, reminding everyone to consider their viewpoint, what they want, and what might turn them off.
Oh, I like that. That's a good reminder.
You can use this in presentations, sales calls, even lesson planning by trying to see things from the audience's perspective. Another good exercise is conversation with a time traveler. You try to explain something common to someone from the past. It makes you rethink what you assume they understand. And lastly, actively looking for commonalities within a group can really build connection and help with attunement.
All great ideas for focusing on the other person and understanding them better. Now, Pink also talks about how we motivate ourselves. He calls it interrogative self-talk and uses Bob the Builder as an example.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I will succeed, Bob the Builder always asks, can we fix it? And research has actually shown that this type of self-talk can be way more effective than just positive statements. Yeah, it's fascinating. People who ask themselves, will I, were able to solve almost 50% more anagrams compared to those who said, I will.
That's crazy. Why is asking a question better than just saying something positive?
There are a couple of reasons. Questions naturally make us come up with answers, and those answers often contain the strategies and steps we need to reach our goals. Like if you ask yourself, can I give a killer presentation? You'll probably start thinking about how to prepare, what examples to use, and what challenges might come up. The second reason is that it pushes us to use our resources. Just saying something positive feels good, but it doesn't always make us take action. Questions make us do that. So it's about thinking and planning and not just feeling good for a second.
Exactly. Pink also talks about being positive, but with a twist.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Positivity can sound cheesy, but research shows it's important for moving others. Norman Hall, that Fuller Brush man we talked about earlier, is a great example of someone with an optimistic outlook. When he got rejected, he saw it as a temporary thing because of specific circumstances or outside his control. He didn't take it personally. Martin Seligman's work on learned helplessness shows how the way we explain bad things to ourselves affects how well we bounce back.
Right, some people are just naturally more optimistic.
A pessimistic style where you see bad things as permanent, widespread, and your fault can be really harmful. But there's also this idea of appropriate negativity.
Yeah, what's that all about?
It's Barbara Fredrickson's idea, and it's important. It doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time and ignore negative feelings. Negativity can be useful. It's like a warning sign telling us when we're messing up or going in the wrong direction.
Oh, okay.
Letting ourselves feel frustrated or even angry when we screw up can actually help us improve and change. The trick is to use those negative feelings in a good way instead of letting them control us.
That's a good point. Recognizing negative feelings can be good as long as you use them to get better. Now, Pink also digs into the power of asking, compared to what? It's all about framing.
Framing is so important. It gives context and highlights what's good about what you're offering by comparing it to other options. There's some cool framing techniques. The less frame shows that sometimes having fewer choices makes people act more decisively. The famous jam study showed that while more people were interested in the display with 24 types of jam, they actually bought more when there were only 6 options.
Less is more. Yep.
It's the power of curation, especially when there are too many choices.
Makes sense in today's world for sure. What are some other good framing techniques?
The experience frame is a good one. Research shows that people are often happier and more satisfied with experiences, things they do and remember, compared to just buying stuff. So framing your offer as an experience can be more persuasive. Then there's the labeling frame, where giving something a positive label makes it more attractive. The blemished frame is also cool. Studies show that adding a small negative detail can sometimes be more convincing because you seem more honest and believable.
Seriously, why would pointing out a flaw make something better?
Because it shows you're not trying to hide anything. It builds trust. Then there's the potential frame. It seems emphasizing future potential could be more motivating than past achievements, like NBA general managers were more willing to pay rookies with potential than veterans with similar past performance. And Facebook ads that said a comedian could be the next big thing got more attention than those saying he is the next big thing.
Interesting. So it's more exciting to think about what could be rather than what was.
Yeah, exactly. But once you've got your message framed, Pink stresses the importance of clarity.
Makes sense. You can't just be vague.
Clarity is super important. Telling people what to think without telling them how to act often leaves them lost. Michael Pantalon's irrational questions are a great way to motivate people who resist change. Instead of arguing logically or giving orders, he suggests asking simple questions like, on a scale of 0 to 10, how important is it to study for that algebra test? These questions get people to think about their own motivations instead of relying on external pressure.
I see. So it's like you're guiding them to make their own decision.
Exactly.
Okay.
And in our world with so much information, clarity also means being good at curating information.
Oh, that's a good point. Like being a filter.
Beth Cantor has a 3-step process. Seek, find the best and most reliable information. Sense, organize it, and add your own understanding to it. And share, give this organized information to others. By being a good curator, you can help people understand things better and maybe even see problems that you can help them solve.
So being a clear and insightful guide is a valuable skill in today's information overload. Pink also talks about Elisha Otis's elevator pitch as a perfect example of getting a complex and important message across clearly and quickly.
Oh yeah, it's a classic. In 1853, at a public event, Otis demonstrated the safety of his elevator by cutting the rope while he was riding it high in the air. When the elevator stopped safely, all he said was, "All safe, gentlemen, all safe." It was a dramatic and super clear way to show how revolutionary his safety brake was.
I love that story.
But today we need more than just elevator pitches. Pink introduces 6 new types of pitches for our world of short attention spans.
Oh, okay, I'm all ears. What are these modern pitches?
The first one is the one-word pitch. Think of brands like Google, or one-word pitches Search or Southwest Airlines. Authenticity. It's about boiling your value down to one memorable word. Second is the question pitch. Asking a thought-provoking question is often more powerful than making a statement. It gets the listener thinking and coming up with their own reasons to agree. Studies have shown that questions can be more persuasive than just stating facts.
Kind of like that interrogative self-talk we talked about.
Exactly. Engaging the other person's mind is key.
I like it.
The third type is the rhyming pitch. Like Johnny Cochran's, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." Rhyming makes things stick in your head. The fourth one is the subject line pitch. Every email subject line is a mini pitch for attention. A good subject line is useful, sparks curiosity, is specific and short. The fifth is the Twitter pitch. Twitter forces you to be super concise and engaging. The best tweets ask questions, share good information or links, and offer useful insights even when they're promoting something. And lastly, we have the Pixar pitch. It's that storytelling framework we talked about earlier. It's great for summarizing even complex ideas in a way that's both compelling and memorable.
So it doesn't matter if it's one word or a little story. Being clear, concise, and grabbing attention quickly is key.
Exactly.
Pink also highlights 3 important questions to ask yourself before any pitch.
Yes, no matter what kind of pitch you're doing, you should always be able to answer these. What do you want them to know? What do you want them to feel? And what do you want them to do? Knowing the answers to these will keep your communication focused and effective.
Now, Pink also talks about something really interesting. Improv. How does improv help with moving others?
Improv is all about listening, collaborating, and building on each other's ideas. It shifts the focus from a win-lose situation to a win-win one where everyone benefits. In improv, you have to hear offers, accepting everything your partner says and building on it and make your partner look good, which actually leads to a better result for both of you.
So it's like being present in the moment and working together instead of just pushing your own agenda.
Yeah, exactly. Hank shares some improv tips you can use every day. Take 5 reminds us to really listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? Don't prepare, just show up mentally. Means be present and in the moment instead of following a script. Yes and is about accepting your partner's idea and adding to it. Make your partner look good is about helping each other succeed. Word at a time is a fun exercise for creating a story together. And simply being curious about the other person can create a deeper connection. These are all great ways to improve your interactions.
Finally, Pink reminds us about keeping things personal and the idea of servant selling.
So important. We value professionalism, but we should never forget the human element in our interactions. Abstract problems become more real when we hear personal stories and experiences, like that road safety campaign in Kenya where they encouraged passengers to speak up for safety, or the radiologist who keeps a photo of his patient while examining their scans. It makes more personal. Showing you care also involves showing you believe in what you're offering, like Giuseppe Ferrugio, the pizzeria owner, who displays his personal cell phone number in his restaurant.
Wow, that takes guts. It shows real commitment, though.
Definitely. Lots of successful people do this. Brett Bull from Scroobydoo.com sends handwritten notes, and car dealer Tammy Darvish gives customers her home email address. This leads us to servant selling, which comes from Robert Greenleaf's idea of servant leadership. It's about serving first and selling second. Will the buyer's life get better? Will the world be a better place? These are the questions to ask.
I like that. That's a good way to look at it.
It changes how we think about who benefits in a transaction. Seth Godin says we should treat everyone like they're our grandma with 80,000 Twitter followers.
That's a great analogy.
So the key is to genuinely want to help the other person, and selling becomes a natural part of that.
I see what you mean.
Whenever you're trying to move someone, ask yourself, if they say yes, will their life improve? And will the world be a better place after our interaction? If the answer to either is no, maybe it's time to rethink what you're doing.
So the big takeaway is that moving others has changed. It's less about that old school, pushy salesperson and more about understanding, connecting with, and really helping people in all the different roles we play in our lives. We're already doing this all the time. And if we use these insights about attunement, being positive, being clear, and serving others, we can be more effective and make a positive impact.
Absolutely. And that brings us to one last thought for you to ponder. Now that you see how much we're all involved in moving others, how can you use this servant-selling mindset to change how you approach things in your life, both personally and professionally? What chances to connect and offer value are you missing right now? And how could using a yes and attitude open up new possibilities for you and those around you? It's about rethinking how we influence each other with a focus on mutual benefit and service.
I think that's something we can all think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for this deep dive. It was awesome.
My pleasure.
Until next time.